New Hampshire International Speedway sets looked like this less than 10 years ago. Bob and Gary Baer bought the Briar Motorsports Park property and set out to build New England's premier racetrack. When the Busch Grand National Series christened NHIS in 1990, everyone knew bigger and better days were on the horizon. Having hosted an IndyCar race last year, now the Bears have the one race they've always wanted, the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. And Race Day is here in Loudon, New Hampshire, live for this historic day. And when the Bears were building this track, local officials had a problem with the height of the grandstands because they didn't have a fire truck ladder that would reach to the top of the Bears Speedway. So they took care of that issue by buying the town a new fire truck and a new ladder. Hello, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson, and welcome to this beautiful one-mile track where the motto is "Can Do." Out in Des Moines, Iowa, it's a much gloomier picture. The downtown streets are flooded, and a Trans Am race has been canceled. We have a crew standing by on the scene, and we'll update you on that a little later in the show. Now, the excitement level here in New Hampshire International Speedway is nothing less than incredible as we get set to go racing live on TNN in less than an hour and a half. Now, qualifying for this first ever Winston Cup race was held on Friday, and until Mark Martin came out, looked like Ken Schrader might sit on the pole for his second time this season in his Kodiak Chevrolet. Starting on the outside of row number 1 will be Sterling Marlin, who's long overdue for that first series win. Rookie Jeff Gordon had another strong showing as he qualified his DuPont Chevy third. He starts alongside his Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Ken Schrader, who was bumped down to 4th. Starting 5th in today's race is 1984 Series champ Terry Labonte in the Kellogg Chevrolet. Next to him will be Busch Grand National regular Jeff Burton, who's made an impressive qualifying effort in his first Winston Cup debut. On row 4 is Davey Allison in the Texaco Haviland Ford, and rounding out the top 10 are Dale Jarrett in the Interstate Battery Chevy and Ricky Rudd in the third Hendrick Motorsports car. It has been a big week for news in the Winston Cup Series, some of which has been made right here at the track. Mark Allen has our story.
Friday, TNN announcer Neil Bonnet revealed he will indeed trade in his microphone for a helmet at the upcoming Talladega race. Ken Schrader is here in New Hampshire thanks to a NASCAR Commission decision Tuesday overturning his and car owner Joe Hendrick's 4-race suspension for using an illegal carburetor in Daytona last week.
I was not surprised that I was able to race. Most everybody told me they thought that that would happen from past things that have happened, you know, and appeals. But the other case, I didn't really, I didn't argue that case. I wasn't in there when Rick and Papa Joe argued that case. So, I was probably somewhat surprised that we didn't sit for a little while.
And after testing the waters of owning his own team, Brett Bodine is staying with Kenny Bernstein next year after all.
Well, I just felt like, we weren't able to get anything solid for sponsorship for my own effort for next year. And, I just wanted to get things back in line with the Quaker State race team so that we could go ahead and move forward the rest of this year and prepare for the '94 season.
This is Mark Allen reporting for Race Day.
And thank you, Mark. Dale Earnhardt may not have qualified well for today's race, but you can never count the Intimidator out. The 5-time Winston Cup champion already has 4 wins under his belt this season, and a couple of those have come from a lap down. Earlier this morning, I talked with the current Winston Cup points leader. Last year, all you could do was want to have another year like you've had this year, and it is just so good. The points lead, you guys are on a roll. You're winning races. Can it get any better?
Well, I hope it can. I hope it can, keep getting better all the rest of the season here. Our first half was great. To come back after last year and turn it around like we did, it really shows the team worked hard. There's a lot of dedication there, and I can't say enough about them, but we've had a great year so far. The first half was super, and we're starting off here at New Hampshire, the new racetrack, the first time here, and starting the second half of the season. We're really energetic and feel good about it.
Well, you didn't qualify quite that well here, but of course everybody was guessing as to what would be the right setup at a brand new racetrack. But at the same time, you've always got a good car to race here. Is it a good car for today?
I think so. I think we've come a long way in practice and setting the car up. I think would have been okay in qualifying. The driver just got a little over anxious getting in one and missed the mark just a little bit, and that's all it took, as competitive as it is. And, you know, we're starting 24th, which is not too bad, but we just got to work our way up. We got 300 laps here, and it's a long time here at New Hampshire. It's a good racetrack. It'll be easy, I think, just to take your time and just, you know, work your way up to the front.
Well, now I'm not trying to be funny about this, but now if you keep on going the way it is, there's not going to be anybody for you to run down towards the end of the season here. Everybody, you're going to get so far ahead that there's going to be nobody to race with Dale, and that ain't going to be any fun. You got to have somebody to race with.
That's not the way racing usually goes, though. You know that. It always turns around to where one guy, you know, has a great streak there for a while and everything's going just his way. And then it turns around and it's not going his way. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that hitting us. But we're going to just keep doing what we know how to do and then try to do it right and you know, take it to the limit. You know, if we can go out and gain 100 more points before the end of the year on the next guy, that's what we want to try to do.
Final question. Awful hot today. Going to get real slick out there. Is there any real secret you think to winning this? It's a short race, only 300 laps here.
Yeah, short, but it's a long time here on this flat racetrack. I think consistency and patience is going to pay off today.
All right. Good luck to you, Dale,
Thanks.
and appreciate you joining us.
All right.
All right, and you can watch Earnhardt because he'll come back through the middle there and he'll be tough. Now, you can catch all the day's action from this historic event live right here on TNN beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll have flag-to-flag coverage of today's Slick 50 300, so keep it tuned right here and watch history in the making. Now, we'll be right back with more race day in a moment, but first, here's a look at some of the other top drivers and how they qualified. Stay with us, everybody.
Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. By Performax by Pennzoil, the new synthetic motor oil that protects to the max. And by Old Milwaukee, an Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this.
Welcome back live to New Hampshire, everybody. We'll talk more about the festivities here a little bit later on, but now we turn our attention to a more serious note. You know, sports have always been an escape from the problems of everyday life. Today in Des Moines, Iowa, not even sports could escape the floodwaters that have plagued the Midwest. The Rouen Grand Prix was scheduled to take to the downtown streets later this afternoon, but the streets are now partially underwater. The Trans Am race has been canceled, but as Tom DeWeese tells us, life goes on.
Saturday afternoon, everyone knew that it was just a matter of time before the Des Moines River would spill over into the downtown streets. That time came early Sunday morning, and when the sun came up, it wasn't time to go racing. It was time to get out of town. Des Moines was being evacuated, and the race was canceled.
You really need to realize that the people of the city of Des Moines and the entire state of Iowa really have a major problem going on here, and our auto race is just a minor item. It's too bad that we can't have it, but I think our team is really feels sorry for everybody that's suffering. We're not really suffering at all relative to the dramas that most people have going on in their personal lives here.
Normally, team owner Tom Gloy would be discussing strategies on getting his team out front later on that day. Sunday, the strategy was to get out of town. But all of the teams know how fortunate they are just to be able to move on because they are all well aware of what they're leaving behind.
Like the government said, you know, this is a natural disaster. This is not the time to be racing.
No word yet on what will happen to this race. The teams may be leaving town, but there's still a race to be run here in Des Moines. It's a race against time for the people here in the area. This is Tom DeWeese reporting for Race Day.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And again, all of our hearts and motorsports go out to all the folks in Des Moines. Hope everything gets cleaned up there real quickly. Now, yesterday, before the water level did get too high, they did get qualifying in, and it seems only fitting that the fastest car on the track was the Rain-X Chevy Camaro of Scott Sharp, who had a good, strong run, but all for naught, as we saw earlier. Sharp and the rest of the teams have already left town. But standing by live in Des Moines, giving us a little more insight as to what is happening is the driver of the number 4 Ford, Ron Fellows. And Ron, I know you guys would have really loved to race today, but stronger heads and minds prevail, and unfortunately, you guys are not going to get to do it today.
You're right, Pat. It's really unfortunate. The As I overheard, the whole city of Des Moines and the state is just a mess here with all the rain they've had and the floods. A good portion of the racetrack is flooded. That we go across a couple of bridges across the Des Moines River, and it's turns 6, 7, 8, and 9 that are right now flooded.
Ron, are they predicting a certain level, and when the floods will a certain level that it'll stop, or is it just no telling what's going to happen at this point?
Well, I guess the problem is that a number of the dams upriver we're losing control of them, and right. They're saying that they may have to release more water, and that'll just increase the flooding in the downtown area.
Well, as we said a little earlier and saw in that piece, we wish everybody the very best there. Appreciate you hanging around and talking a little bit with us. And since you're there, let's talk a little racing. There was apparently a problem over in Sonoma with an infraction, and there was an appeal to that. What was the outcome of all of that in the last race that you guys were in?
Yeah, the problem was, as you say, was related to our West Coast swing. We had our appeal on Saturday. We were penalized 15 driver points and 5 manufacturer points for an incident in Portland. And they heard our appeal Saturday, and we got our points back, although we were assessed a $5,000 fine, which is still painful, but we're happy to get the points back, and thanks to Mark Fung and Tom Glay, we got our points back.
Before you get gone there, is everything look good for the rest of the season? We got about 30 seconds left in this.
Oh yeah, I think everything's fine. It's too bad we can't run this race, but I'm looking forward to finishing off this string of races we got in a row. We're going to Toronto and then Lime Rock, and we get a break. Really looking forward to challenging Scott for this championship.
Good deal. Ron, fellas, thank you so much for hanging around, and be dry and be safe. We'll see you down the road.
We'll get out of town in a hurry. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Ron. In Cleveland, Ohio, the IndyCar Series is preparing to take flight. They'll tackle 85 laps around the temporary road course at the Burke Lakefront Airport. Pole sitter honors go to Penske driver Paul Tracy. In our Delco Batteries report, the Canadian sensation posted the best speed, 144 miles per hour. He's after his second win of the year and finished second at the most recent event. Tracy will have his hands full with the series points leader Nigel Mansell, who has won on both the ovals and road courses. On row number 2 is Tracy's teammate Emerson Fittipaldi, who mastered the rain in Portland, and Stefan Johansson in another of the current Penske chassis. All right, don't go away. We've got a lot more race day to come live right here from the New Hampshire International Speedway, so stick around, everybody.
Is brought to you in part by Oldsmobile.
Live, everyone, to New Hampshire International Speedway, where they're getting ready for the first ever Winston Cup race at this track in just over an hour and a half. But at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, they're gearing up for what could be a history-breaking event. After claiming 13 straight IMSA GTP victories, Team Toyota will skip this afternoon's race, bringing an end to the third longest winning streak in all of motorsports. Now, with Toyota out, the Yost Porsche of Manuel Reuter is on the pole, and in our Mopar performance report, Wayne Taylor has a Chevy GTP alongside him and on the front row. On row 2 are the Moretti-Bell tandem and another Yost Porsche driven by John Winter. Now, there's been lots of speculation about what Toyota's plans are for the rest of the year since they've decided to withdraw from this weekend's race at Elkhart Lake. Well, the folks at Toyota say they'll run the remainder of the races on the 1993 schedule, but their absence this weekend makes the Grand Prix at Road America anyone's race. Now,
for us, it gives us an opportunity to win a race. Obviously, you like to beat the best. Toyota is the best. They're in their own class, and we're basically running for scraps. But if we can win this weekend, for our little team, would be ecstatic.
Well, it's disappointing not having them being at the event, but then on the other hand, it's really good for us because it's going to be a lot more competitive a race, and at least we stand a realistic chance of winning again. And I think for the series, it would be nice to have another winner.
Well, it's a great shame the Toyotas aren't here this weekend, of course, because everybody always wants to see the best that there is. But I will say, I think from our point of view, we're always running in our own race anyway, and we have to sort of consider the Toyotas aren't in it. We just wait for them to break down. In this case, I think we're going to see a lot better race. I think our team and Yost and the other GTP cars will put a lot more effort into it because they all know they have an opportunity to win, whereas before we all had an opportunity to come third.
And now, before we bring you back to the New Hampshire Speedway for more on today's Winston Cup race, we'd like to catch you up to date on some of the series nationwide. Here's a recap of the late action from last weekend.
The American-Canadian Tour continued their 4th of July celebration Sunday in Vermont. And at the start of the Coke Firecracker 100, the question on everyone's mind was how long would it take for Junior Hanley to bounce back from a disappointing 23rd place finish the night before? The answer to that question, not very long. He started off in 22nd, but he quickly moved up through the field. Terry Gordon and Mike Whedon helped his cause with this accident by bringing out a caution and bunching up the field. From then on, it was all Junior Hanley as he took over the lead and went on to take the checkers. Brad Leeton, who charged up through the field, finished second. Ralph Nason was third. Kevin LePage was fourth, and Beaver Dragon was fifth. On to Michigan for the AMA Motocross, and in the 250 class, Jeff Matasevich may not have been considered a favorite, but he certainly looked like the bike to beat early on as he flew over the jumps with the rest of the field behind him, including Steve Lamson and Mike Kudrowski. But soon the leader dropped back in the pack as Lamson and Kudrowski moved up front. But the kid wasn't done there. He still had one more move to make, and he made it by taking over the top spot. Then it was just a matter of time to see if the Kawasaki driver could stay out front, and yes, he did. Mike LaRocco followed in second, Jeff Stanton was third, Steve Lamson was fourth, and Matasevich finished in fifth. In the second moto, it was a scramble for the early lead, but who would lead coming out of the first turn? Yes, once again, it was number 12, Matasevich, out front. But he had some company behind him in the form of Kudrowski and Lamson. And again, it didn't take long for the kid to take his Kawasaki to the front, where he would stay for the rest of the afternoon until the checker flag dropped. LaRocco and Stanton once again finished second and third. Fourth was John Dowd, and fifth was Lamson. Now to the banks of the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana for the Governor's Cup race. And until she's beaten, the Miss Bud is still the favorite each and every time they take to the water. The Winston Eagle once again put up a good fight early on, but once again, it just wasn't good enough to catch Chip Hanauer as the Miss Bud floated away with a second straight Governor's Cup. The Eagle did land in second place. The Tide was third. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes was fourth. And on this 4th of July race, the American Spirit was fifth. For the Club All-Stars, it's time for Ohio Speed Week. Sunday, they started in Findlay, and Mark Keegan in the X car jumped out to the early lead. Rocky Hodges in the U2 started in the second row and was making a run at Keegan when the first caution flag flew because Kevin Huntley got stopped down the front straight with a flat tire. Then the field slowed up again the next lap for a multi-car accident that involved Rocky Hodges. But nothing could slow down Keegan as he led from flag to flag on this 4th of July victory. Joe Gertie finished in second, followed by Kelly Kinzer, Ricky Hood, and Bobby Gallen. Monday night, it was a full moon over Orville as the Buckeye Speed Week continued. Dean Jacobs and Todd Kane led the pack early, but lurking back in the field was the U2 with its lead singer, Rocky Hodges. Kane and Jacobs battled for the lead a number of times. The 2 was taking the high road, the 78 was taking the low. Most of the time it worked as the high road was faster, but eventually Kane figured it out and took the lead. And then it looked like his race to win. But out of nowhere comes Rocky Hodges, and he passes both Kane and Jacobs with one move to take the lead and goes on to victory lane, much to the delight of his car owner, Warren Johnson. Frankie Kerr moved up into second, Kane held on for third, Bobby Allen was fourth, and Jacobs was fifth. This is Tom Deweese reporting for Race Day.
All right, thanks, Tommy. Now let's take a look at our Kawasaki scoreboard. AMA National Motocross Series. Kawasaki's Mike Kudrowski has a strange points lead with 4 out of 5 wins under his belt. Honda's Jeff Stanton has 41 points down in second, while John Dowd sits in the third spot. Kudrowski's teammate Mike LaRocco is fourth, and Steve Lamson rounds out the top 5. Straight ahead, we'll dive in, have the latest news from here in New Hampshire, and Winston Cup Series prepares to take the green flag. More on Race Day right after this.
Race Day is brought to you by Old Milwaukee NA non-alcoholic brew. Explore the great taste of Old Milwaukee NA, and you could win a new Ford Explorer. See your store display for details. Race Day, brought to you in part by Mopar Parts and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. And by Monroe Shocks and Struts, now with road sensing technology.
And welcome back, live to New Hampshire International Speedway, everybody, where the inaugural Winston Cup race at this track is just now a little more than an hour away. Anticipation for this race has been so great that when tickets first went on sale, they were sold out in about 3 hours, and the fans are jubilant that the Winston Cup is finally here.
It's the best thing that ever happened to this state, and the best thing that ever happened to me because I'm from New England, and I always have to travel thousands of miles to go to a Winston Cup race, and I think it's the best thing that ever happened to New Hampshire. I think it's, I love it.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's about time we got it up here in the north.
Love it. Love it.
We went to Daytona last year. That was a long trip for a race, but we can drive here. It's wonderful.
It's nice. Love it. Love it.
I think it's a great thing for New Hampshire. It's a great thing for the sport.
Love it.
Best thing that could happen to New England in particular. And I'm just glad to see this race here, and I hope there'll be more in the future.
Live in Maine, not if I travel. It's good. Hope there's a lot of action and excitement.
Love it. Love it. Want it to stay every year.
Does he love it or what? And in today's race watch here in New Hampshire, keep your eye on Mark Martin. The Valvoline driver was the fastest of anybody in final practice yesterday afternoon. And another note, Race Day has learned that the leading 2 candidates to replace Jeff Bodine in the Bud Moore Ford are Jimmy Spencer and Ted Musgrave. Decision could come as early as tomorrow. That's all we're going to have for now, but get ready. Neil Bonnet, Buddy Baker, and the rest of the crew, and Mike Joy will be with you for live coverage of today's race until tonight at 8:30. I'm Pat Patterson. So long from New Hampshire.